So now we're going to bring our guests in on that note. Good morning, madam. Give me the correct pronunciation.
Shayna.
Shayna.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have Miss Shayna Smith. Is the rest of the name Archer?
Yeah, Smith Archer.
Yeah, it's cut off at the bottom, but I remembered it being Archer. Okay. So Shayna, thank you so much for joining us. I don't even know, how did we meet? I think it was through MP Famous, right?
Yes.
He made some introductions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was part of the team, the original team that brought this together, and we'll get into it. But yes. I thought it was a perfect your soapbox moment was a perfect segue into what we're doing in terms of looking at regionally, informing our communities across the 6 overseas territories of the UK, and getting into the deeper discussions, and again accountability, because we have a role to play in the media to use it for good.
Yeah. And do you have, I know Shayna, that remind me what island you're from?
And then that we're up to. Okay, you still there?
Yeah, no, sorry. Remind me of what, yeah, Shayna, can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay. Remind me of which island you're from again.
So I'm from the Virgin Islands. So I live in
the Virgin Islands.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So, I mean, I'm sure that you were listening in the background there for a minute, and I'm sure you messaged me and said, wow, we could just substitute Cayman and Virgin Islands, and it would be the same problems, the same concerns. And this is why I say, in so many respects, we're not as unique as we think we are. Like everybody wants to believe, oh, Caymanians are so incredibly unique and we have a unique set of problems. These are problems that plague people, not even just in the Caribbean region, but all over the world. Everybody's struggling with the cost of living. Exactly. Everybody's trying to decide, how much can a $50 get you? Is it just that one bag of groceries, half a bag of groceries? Rent control, out the roof in New York, in London. And, it's like, it's not just our little corner of the universe. Exactly. We all share common issues and concerns. Sometimes they might be regional issues. There might be some things that are a little bit more country specific, but we have a lot in common, don't we?
We sure do. And that was the thing, I think, for me, was the biggest eye-opening aspect of doing the show. So we're going into our 3rd season starting on Wednesday evening at 7:30, as you mentioned. That's Atlantic Standard Time. So that's like an hour behind for you guys. But it's something where, when we started to have guests on from Anguilla, from Montserrat, from Cayman, from Bermuda, from TCI, we're all struggling with the same labor issues. You spoke about workforce development and making sure that job opportunities are being created on a more consistent basis to help people basically afford to live, because that is where the source of income is going to come from. So when we go out and we look at different topics, we promote women in leadership. That's something we do once a quarter, where we have a panel of women, because, we talk about gender equity, but it is something we have to be very intentional about exposing ourselves to, and understand that it's still a glass ceiling that needs to be demolished, and that women across the region, they're being movers and shakers in different areas. So it's not just politics, but in business and community service as well. So we're a group that came together actually through Chris, because he was the one that initially had Territory Talk as part of his radio show in Bermuda called Motion to Adjourn. And I reached out to him because I was part of one of the panels one time when they were, again, reaching out to all the OTs, and he did it. And I said, hey, what's happening with this? I think this is something that's very much still needed, especially with, again, the common issues that are affecting all of us, that we need to start to first to build an understanding around, and then possibly look at how can we start to collaborate on solutions. Because we realize that you have more hands on deck, you can actually probably get some things resolved by doing that from the grassroots level, So that's where we've been on the journey. And again, thank you from the whole team for partnering with us and coming on board. It's one of our media partners. We actually broadcast from as far south as Barbados all the way up to TCI.
Wow, beautiful. So your media partners include, let's just go, we have people all over the region, all over the world that listen. So obviously CMR here in the Cayman Islands. Where else do you have?
So here in the Virgin Islands, we have CBN
Mm-hmm.
radio as well as the TV. In Barbados, we had the CBC. So we're getting ready to
Mm-hmm.
renew the contract, but more likely we will be there. TCI, we have their registration. Montserrat, their
Mm-hmm.
registration. We're also there with them. Bermuda, we have their TV station, Channel 82, is
Mm-hmm.
also a part of our media partner family.
Beautiful. So good coverage.
Mhm. We're
Um,
only now trying to get into Anguilla. So if anybody from Anguilla happens to be listening, they can
okay.
reach out through us through Facebook. So that was one of the things intentionally we wanted to make sure we're in all the overseas territories. But it was a situation where someone from the Barbados station was listening to us when they were visiting somewhere else, and they reached out
Yes.
to us and asked to be able to get the video from the broadcast, and they replay it.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I see MP Thomas Christopher Famous is in the house. He says blessings from Bermuda. Thanks, Miss
Okay.
Sandy. You're most welcome. So, tell us a little bit then about when the show airs and what are some of the topics that you've got lined up. It's just returning this week.
Mhm. So we air second and fourth Wednesday, 7:30. As we
Okay.
said, it's primarily on the Facebook page of Territory Talk as well as YouTube. So
Mm-hmm.
persons can pick it up there even after the broadcast because we leave everything loaded. As you said, Facebook is the perfect archives for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So and then on the stage, the TV or the radio stations, they either replay or rebroadcast in the particular territories. So
Mm-hmm.
that's our schedule. Topics, we have spoken about everything from cost of living, environmental concerns, climate
Mm-hmm.
change. And this season, we're hoping to also bring on more of our political leaders. We've had on so far the premiers of Montserrat and the Virgin Islands,
Mm-hmm.
and we've reached out to the others. So we're hoping to be able to get them on there again, talking about the national unity that's needed across all of our overseas territories, because we are facing a common present as well as need to look at what's going to be the focus in the future and what's to happen there. So those are some of the areas we're going to be digging into, checking back in on the cost of living, where we are looking at new topics in terms of what's happening around the region from a food security standpoint. And we're always open to for our audience to make suggestions of topics they would like us to reach out and probably bring on subject matter experts to talk about, some of the things that they might be concerned about and want more information so that, they can understand what's happening in their country. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, here in the Virgin Islands, we're currently doing a constitutional review, which was a
Mm-hmm.
result of one of the recommendations from the Commission of Inquiry. And I was here on talking about that, when that happened a year or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something now that we see the Foreign Affairs Committee of the UK Parliament, putting the question out in terms of, we need to look at the constitutional relationship of all the overseas territories. So whether that is going to now trigger a constitutional review for everybody within the near future, that's something, again, our communities need to be very cognizant about, have the information in terms of knowing what, could be expected and how
Mm-hmm.
we have to approach these things, individually as well as collective. And one of the comments that you made were in terms of we have a lot of commonality, but we pride ourselves on individuality. It
Mm-hmm.
is something where we have to start to learn how to collaborate better,
Mm-hmm.
within that context. Because yes, everybody is going to have their strengths and their weaknesses. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
again, when we get together, we're able now to be even stronger through the unity across, the small group of six,
Right.
and from there, tap into the regional resources from the other Caribbean countries that are our neighbors, and continue to develop ourselves as a people to really,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think we have a little bit of audio issues. Can you hear me still?
I'm hearing you. I think it's
Yeah.
like a slight delay.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe one of the things we could try to share with you some good internet speeds on our island.
It's interesting because we use StreamYard for our show as well. And I kid you not, almost every episode somebody drops because of
Yes.
internet issues, or even with the mobile companies because they may
Yeah.
try to log on to their phones. And I'm like, I don't understand. We have
Uh,
three companies,
it's
major
we
companies in the region, and we're not getting it together.
it's been a struggle. I feel like we're finally kind of getting there where we now have decent and in a lot of places on the island. But you know, for us as an island that's like completely flat, I've never understood why we've not had faster penetration of things like fiber and stuff like that. But we're getting there. We're getting there. So
Yeah.
yes, one of the things we share in common, undoubtedly. It's so good though to be able to, I think, visit some of the other islands and see by comparison. You know, on this show, we've had, for example, Andre Stevens from Jamaica, who is one of the big bloggers in that country. Lots of people tune in. He'll have all 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people sometimes listening to his show every single evening. And he focuses, like, I think the different platforms have a different focus area. So he does like a lot of politics, and he does focus on, you know, some of the bigger crime stories and stuff, and helping hopefully to bring some degree of justice and closure to those. But, you know, I feel like with the advent of technology, it might not be perfect, but it does allow us to collaborate in the way in which we did. Because before COVID, or 5, 10, 15 years ago, what we do now, even having this show this morning, would have been an impossibility.
Exactly.
You know, with you staying where you are at home in your country, I'm here in my country, and we can have a show where people anywhere in the world could literally be tuned in and watching. So I think that, you know, the technology and the technological advances, which I try to keep on top of, really have made a difference in our lives. And it gives us this amazing opportunity to really engage at a more significant and deeper level.
Yeah, and that's the importance now, even of having the good technology to be able to leverage the relationships now that we're trying to build and foster. Because if you know, communication now can be real time, basically anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
You know, we get so much more things done in more efficient ways. And you know, traveling in the Caribbean now is nothing less than a beast, where sometimes it's just a day to travel to some place that should be, you know, maybe 3 hours away by a direct flight. So having good, solid communication is very, very important, I think, going forward. So it's something where, you know, we're always constantly, you know, pushing essentially our telecoms to say, hey, we know we're good, but we need to get better, and we need to be at the best of our game with everything that we do. I think I saw a question where someone was asking about the outcome of the legalization of weed.
Yeah, we actually have a moratorium on that topic. Don't even
go there. All right.
No.
Well, just for clarity, it was not
until September.
I got you. But just for clarity, it was not assented to here. So
it did not pass.
No. It didn't pass the governor's desk.
It didn't pass the governor's desk. Oh, wow. Yes. There you go.
So that's where it's
all
at.
Right. Darlene, big shout out to Bahamas. Big shout out to everybody from Bermuda. Thank you, Thomas, saying blessings for everybody in Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac. So yes, I mean, this is a fantastic, I'm looking forward. Now you guys take a bit of a hiatus. I don't actually take very much of a break with my show, but I know that you guys took, how much time were you off for?
Well, it was 2 reasons. So I myself, persons may not know, I'm a political advocate of sorts. I actually was running in the 2023 elections here in the Virgin Islands. So I took a leave of absence from the show. So that's where we had a longer break, an extended break, I would say. But what we've done now is that we actually have a new guest host that's going to be on. So we have more persons that can rotate in and out. So it will be more constantly. But typically, we only take a break usually for summer during the August, and then we're back. So we decided, since we had the extended break earlier, we're back in the salad, basically starting from this week and going straight towards the end of the year.
Okay, very nice. All right, we do have a call on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
It's the first time I'm hearing her, and I say thank you very much. But on the word issue and the no assent, I just saying whoop whoop. Thank you.
I got you. Thank you so much. So she's happy about that. Just curiosity, when did that decision? Was it in January of this year?
No, it was actually one of those bills from I think last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
this bill was from I think 2022. It was two issues, very controversial. I think I don't know if you guys are discussing gambling, but it
yes,
was
both
two very
coming to the table.
controversial. It was the medical marijuana as well as the gaming. I think the gaming is still, I think that may have gone through, but the commission now hasn't been set up. So those are things that are still in play. But I do believe the marijuana one definitely wasn't assented to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. So anybody else has a question for a guest or a comment, please feel free to give us a call. 936-2626 is the telephone number. So what else have you said that you were running for political office. How many
Yes.
MPs do you have in your country?
So we have 13 seats for our districts and for our at large and 9 are districts. So we have a total of 13 in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and again, those are things now during the constitutional review discussions. The report is actually due in August. Persons were making suggestions about district councils and whether or not, we need more support for the district representatives to run the country more efficiently. Because whilst we're still small in size, population has definitely grown tremendously over the years. We're actually in the process also of doing our census this year to really get a handle on what's happening in the country from all different levels. So that's going to also shake up a lot of things in terms of minimum wage. I think I saw you guys were talking about that recently and had a report that was coming forward. So I've been paying attention to that to see what's going to come out of that as well, because we have the same issue where assistance from the government through the district representatives was one of the things that was taken away during the commission of inquiry, because it wasn't well structured. Let me put it like that.
Right.
So, and many things were called into question in terms of how things were being done. But the UNESCO came in and they were asked to formulate a new assistance program. And one of the headlines that was in the news the other day was saying that minimum wage needs to be increased, because no matter how much assistance you give, it's something where persons are still not earning enough to essentially afford to live in the country. So that is the challenge. And we don't manufacture and produce much here, so it is something where we're beholden to whatever the global prices are, and the price
Very
of oil
much the
drives
same
everything. Yeah, and the price of oil drives everything. So if the price of oil goes up, the price of production of these things go up. So then we're bringing in 99%. And I think this is definitely going to be one of the topics that we talk about in this season in terms of trade, regional trade, where how we can actually help bring down our import bill from a global standpoint outside the region, to start to look at from food security standpoint, what can we start to produce across our islands that we're able to trade with each other. So I don't need, at this juncture, I don't need to try to be self-sustaining when it comes to producing food. But if I know that I have enough land to, let's say for example, we raise cattle and sheep. We actually had a breed of sheep called a Virgin Island sheep that was unique to our country. So and everybody loves mud across the region. So it's a business opportunity as well as a trade opportunity to advance the cause of food security. So those are the types of ideas we like to again bring forward on the show and have conversations and get the different viewpoints across the region, again, to start to build that grassroots collaboration that's needed to solve a lot of the problems. Because as we know, and I'm going to say, politicians don't have all the answers. They never will. The communities are where a lot of the understanding is, because it's who is in the trench knows the depth of it. And we're the ones now that have to do that. And that's part of the reason why I even got into politics in the first place, because I used to work in the public service in the Ministry of Finance. So I got a front row seat to things, in front of the stage as well as behind. And it was something where, it's the quality of our decisions at the end of the day is what is affecting the quality of our lives. And you talked about it all morning. Some of the simple things like balancing the budget, spending the money on the priorities, fixing pipes. Those are conversations that somebody from Anigada might call in and say, we don't have access to utilities like we do on the Big Island. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but they are no deserving of the same level of quality of life that anybody else. And that's what I'm saying. You know, I used to say to people, this is very damning for us because we're all part of the same Virgin Islands, but we're not thinking along the lines that persons on the sister islands should have no less quality of health care than those that are on the
Exactly.
main island. So we have to make sure that we're investing in our medical transport, that if you have an emergency anywhere in the country, that we're able to respond, you know, in the right way. Otherwise, people's lives are on the line.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, without a doubt. What's your, I'm just curious about your electricity situation there. What is your electricity situation? Like, what are your bills run? Do you guys have your own currency?
No, we spend the US dollar,
Okay.
and that's historical from trading with the US Virgin Islands nearby. So we had asked for permission back as far back as the 50s, and it was granted. So electricity, same thing in terms of cost. It went up astronomically last year with the increase in fuel. It
Right.
hasn't really come back down because I think one of the challenges that we have to work around is there's a surcharge on top of usage that is basically doubling the bill.
Now your surcharge is what? That's like a government tax, or what is that?
No, it's just a surcharge apparently that they put on, that's a percentage. So whatever you use, you pay, you have a bill for, you have a rate for that. But then on top of this, now you have a surcharge now that when you look at your bill, the surcharge is almost the same amount as the usage. So
is that for fuel, or I'm trying to
yeah,
figure
they call it fuel surcharge.
Oh, and is it a direct pass through cost then of the fuel?
No, because there are times when if we're following what's happening with the global prices, it's not necessarily moving according to that. So there was quite a bit of fluctuation, and for me, it came to my purview because, you know, my mother is retired and I pay her bills. So I am looking at the bill and wondering, well, why is the bill gone up 40% since the, you know, over the last 6 months? And it became a concern because, again, retirees are fixed income.
Right.
So, you know, persons who are still actively working in the workplace, you know, even then, so we still all have budgets and we aren't able to just find 30% more income to put towards a light bill.
Yes.
You know, to cover these things. So government, you know, we were actively petitioning government about, you know, what is this? We have to think about when we're making these adjustments, and also to communicate, because unless you're paying attention, Sandy, sometimes these things are snuck in, and it's not until somebody says, well, hey, I'm not using more electricity to this extent. You know, what's going on? And then you might see a communication come out from the government, or, you know, persons also say the same thing on Facebook and say, yeah, I noticed that, but I thought, you know, it was because there were men working at my house. And I'm like, nope, go back and check your fuel surcharge. It's fluctuated greatly over the last few months. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And so in US dollars, what are you guys paying? What would you say maybe is the average for your electric bill?
So for me, I'm a single person living alone. I pay about say 150, and maybe a family of 4, they pay like maybe 3 times that. So the bill is a significant cost of living now. It's gone down somewhat, but I think one of the other things that we have to look at in terms of weaning ourselves off of the dependence of fossil fuel, because we have not advanced as we should have, I would say, in terms of renewable energy, and looking at using solar, you know, wind, or even water to help to supplement, because again, we're subject to global prices, and it's something that in some cases it's not going to ever come back down.
Wow. You mean it's never going to go back down?
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the cost of fuel. So again, once the fuel stays up, it's something now that is going to keep the cost of
yeah, it's going to seem to, wow.
Yeah.
So crazy. And what is your minimum wage in your country?
Minimum wage is currently at $6.
Same here. Super, super interesting.
So the comment here, just again to clarify, I am from the British Virgin Islands. Governor Albert Bryan is from the United States Virgin Islands. Our correct name is Virgin Islands of the United States.
Totally different.
Totally
different territories.
Yes.
All right. Very, very good. And as you know, we share that in common as well, being part of the British overseas territories. And there's a lot that comes, specific with that in terms of our constitution and so on. So it is super, super interesting to hear all of these developments. And folks, you can find out more about Territories Talk. They're going to be on tomorrow evening. That's Wednesday evening. Give us the time again.
So it's going to be 6:30 p.m. in the Cayman Islands, 7:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time.
Okay, beautiful. So Shayna, we appreciate you so much and your entire team. Continue. We're happy to be, partners with you on this and continue the good work that you're doing. And we'll have you on occasion to kind of check in to see how some of these changes in your country going, because it looks like we're very much alignment in terms of the same concerns in our country, your country, minimum wage, all these things, even district councils. I kind of chuckled when you mentioned district councils, because that's something that constitutionally there's a provision there for. And a lot of people here have been pushing for it. I have my doubts about the efficiency of district councils. I think it's going to bloat government even more. But I guess we're going to have to try it and see if it works to really know. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, hi, morning, Sandra.
Good morning.
Good morning to your
Good
guest.
morning.
Just thought I would take advantage of the conversation that your guest is making time for, and to see where potentially, as you stated before, the similarities that our Caribbean islands are facing. And so I wonder if she could elaborate on what is the prevailing trend that she's seeing within the Caribbean as relates to the governments rolling out ESGs, environmental, social, and governance practices tied with fiscal performances and institutional performances and financial performances as such. Also, has she seen in the Caribbean a trend, and we've seen this for the most part in the Bahamas and Jamaica and some other places, where they are rolling out their national ID system as a compulsory legislation versus a voluntary buy-in legislation? And lastly, what is she hearing that is, as we're seeing in the G7 nations and even the G20 nations, with relates to digital currencies? U.S. is just about to launch their Fed now digital currencies from their central bank system. The Bahamas have theirs, Jamaica has theirs, but in the Cayman Islands, there's no discussion on our part when, because we know it's coming. The UK has what's called Bitcoin. That's another central bank digital currency. But what is she hearing and seeing relates to the central bank digital currencies around the Caribbean in the pipeline? So if she could perhaps share some light on that.
There's a lot of...
That's a whole show.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got some show topics. Thank you so much, caller. You got, Tina, you got some amazing show topics right there, girl.
Oh, definitely. And, it's great that he brought that forward, because, again, these are things that we need to be looking down the road to see what is coming at us. Again, our unique situation is that we don't have a local currency. So we are basically beholden to the central bank, the federal central bank in the U.S. In terms of the value of the dollar at any given point. Because, I know you guys spend both the U.S. dollar, but you also have the Cayman dollar.
Right. But it's still tied into the US dollar very much. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, again, across the OTs, it's a conversation, I think, to be had. CARICOM, at the CARICOM level, and the OECS, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, I do know about the EDGs and have been hearing about them, but nothing has really essentially been pushed forward as yet as one of those conversations, again, on how we strengthen ourselves financially and fiscally, again, in a global economy, because all of us are part of a global economy now, as small, again, and size has nothing to do with it, based on how the world has been globalized, across our different economies. So that is one of those things where, we can definitely look into getting some subject matter experts to come in and talk to us about, what is it from an OT perspective now that we need to be discussing amongst ourselves, and hopefully our government start to take hold of that conversation as well, to see what would be beneficial, because there's so many different views about their digital currencies and crypto and on all that's been happening over the last 6 months with bank failures and all of these different things. So it's something that we definitely do need to put on the agenda for discussion. So I made notes to do that day. And Sandy, before I run out, I also want to give a shout out to our new guest host, Shirley Osborne from Montserrat. She is going to be joining us on Saturday. So on Wednesday, sorry. So one of the topics is that we're going to start off with doing what we're calling an Overseas Territories Roundtable, where we have two guests on from the two different territories that are going to talk about current issues. So we're going to kick off a series on Wednesday. So we're starting with the Virgin Islands and Montserrat, and then we'll have the other four over the next few episodes, again getting in there. So we may call you to come through and talk about what's been transpiring in Cayman, and again help everybody to come up to speed on we're not. So as we're saying, we're not as different as we think, in that we have similar experiences. So, all of us may have had a different historical starting point. Yes. But we're to a place now where a lot of us are experiencing same issues, whether it's migration. I remember we talked with TCI and I was shocked. It's like, okay, we have migration issues, but not on this scale.
Yes. Yes.
And it's to
because they get a lot of people from Haiti, and I was shocked to just read in yesterday's paper there was a huge number of Haitian nationals that ended up in Jamaica, and so now as we speak, Jamaica is dealing with that situation. I think it was 23 or so, and that includes children and others. So. We've had a lot of Cubans coming in. I don't think we really get too many Haitians yet, I should say.
Yeah.
But these things impact in the economy around the region and around the world when it's, problematic, impacts everybody's life and also the movement of people even. And so that is obviously something to, keep. It's 37 Haitians arrived by boat in Portland in Jamaica.
Wow.
So so it's pretty crazy.
And we can also, it's all about learning too from each other, because before we experience the problem, we can learn how do we mitigate this before it actually becomes a problem.
Yes.
And learn from each other in terms of, having, because we all have immigration departments, we all have labor departments. We all have different policies that it's not something where I have to go and create something new, but I can find a starting point on which to build out something that, everybody else can benefit from. So, those are the things, again, when I read the Royal Gazette out of Bermuda or, the Cayman Island News, you see crime is on the increase. We see, the drug crimes that are happening, gun violence, all of it is common to all of us. And it's something where, again, I full-heartedly believe the grassroots is where a lot of things have to be solved, because like you're saying, if we have the right mindset towards progression and saying, okay, things might not have worked well in the past, but we always have to continue to think positively in terms of how do we take the lemons and make lemonade? Because otherwise we're going to sit here and be thirsty.
Right. Yep. And I'm sure you guys, we're going to wrap things up here now, but I'm sure you also have, your own businesses, sort of, I should say business entities that maybe come in as investors and spend a lot of money. How do your people feel about the darts of BVI? I don't know if you have one or more, or do you have big investors?
No, we don't necessarily have a company as large as DART in terms of a developer, and that is something that there is currently a move to implement a trade commission. The legislation was passed last year, where they would manage now the investment policies around the country in terms of how do foreign investors come in, and even domestic investors, because one of the things that we're seeing is that we're again now in a position where we can invest back into our own country because we're the business owners, we're the ones that are pushing the economy forward. So bringing in foreign partners is always something that has to be managed in a way that it doesn't disadvantage, your domestic investors that are already there in the economy and, wholeheartedly vested, because they're not going to pick up and say, well, okay, things aren't favorable for me anymore and, leave the next day. So that is something where the reception in the community is always something where, we wait and see to an extent. When they have come in, some persons question whether or not they're doing enough to invest back into the community. But it's something where we understand that our economy was jump-started from foreign investment. And that was with Rockefeller coming in and starting the first resort in Virgin Gorda, Little Dick's Bay. So now it's Rose Road, Little Dick's. And it's been there since the 70s. So, we understand that there have been some positive experiences as well as the negative ones. But we know that if the right policies are done and enforced, of course, that we will have better outcomes than we have now. So we have to appreciate the complexities around all of those things.
Yeah, and it's a balance, right? I mean, I know some people want to take a position. They're anti-development. They're anti-this, anti-that. You're pro-environment means you're anti, And for me, I find that there has to be a workable balance that has to be struck, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I'm anti really is child molesters and scammers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Murderers, like those things are very, very clear cut. But when it comes to, managing our infrastructure, building out our infrastructure, taking investors on board, I think there has to be some balance that has to be struck with those types of decisions.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Shayna, thank you so much. We really appreciate
Thank you for having us.
Program.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thanks for partnering with us. And again, I think we're live on your Facebook page when we come up.
Yep.
Okay. So so persons, they can tune in through there and everything is integrated. So they'll be able to see the same live stream coming off of Territory Talk. But, we appreciate all our audiences across all of our overseas territories because we have quite a following now. And again, it's for them that we do this, and we always welcome, the feedback in terms of topics that we want to discuss and they want to hear more about. So we're going to make that happen for them in the season 3.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right, thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I like how Curtis said that he loves how she said dollar, the accent. So listen, couple things I want to touch on. The time just goes by so quickly in the mornings. It's so crazy to think that we started out as a 2-hour show initially from 7:30 to 9:30. And then the guys over at DMS were like, well, Sandy, you're just starting to get good around 9:30. Let's push it to 10. I was like, oh, okay. And the next thing you know, it's 10:30. It's a 3-hour show. Listen, folks, talking for 3 hours ain't always easy. I don't care how much you love to talk, especially if you're trying to talk sense and not nonsense. It's a lot, but so thankful. We always got something to talk about. Let me give you guys